What's up guys, it's Dave and welcome to my channel. Make sure you drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. Now, watch this. Ugh. What's going on guys, Dave here, back with yet again another manager experiment for the channel. Today we have got Paolo Di Canio as West Ham United manager. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and try and find him here, if I can spell it correctly. There we go. And we've got Paolo Di Canio in charge back at West Ham, where he was a player. If you can see, we'll go on his history. He's a bit of a legend there, and the fans love him. And he was there for about 5 years, but he scored some big goals for them. I spent 1.7 million on him. He scored quite a few goals there, and of course he's been manager of a couple of other teams in England, Swindon and Sunderland. But now we're trying him in charge of the club where he is loved. Now his man management is only 4 out of a possible 20, but his judging player ability and potential is 11 and 12. His level of discipline is 20. He doesn't take any crap from anyone. His motivation is 13 and his tactical knowledge is 11. Now his preferred formation is 4-4-2. He's got a direct playing style, a general coaching style, attacking playing mentality, a closing down pressing style, a zonal marking style. And his second preferred formation is a 4-1-2-3 with a defensive midfielder and wide midfielders as well. His reputation in the footballing world is about 2.5 star at the moment. Now, if we look at West Ham, in their first season, they are actually in the Europa League, so it's going to be interesting to see how they can get on there. In general, predicted to finish 11th in the league, and he is currently an icon at the club. So it will be interesting to see if he goes up as a legend or drops down to just a favoured personnel. But it'll be interesting to see that. What we're going to do is skip forward to the first season, end of the first season, and see how well Paolo Di Canio can do in charge at West Ham. So we've completed holidaying the first season. Now it will be interesting to see how West Ham do. And they finished in a very respectable 7th place, 57 points. To be fair, they finished a long way off 6th placed Arsenal, but quite a chunk of points ahead of Southampton, who finished 8th in the end. So we'll see how they've got on. Di Canio is still in charge at the club, and first thing we're going to do is check the transfers as usual. And they've only actually brought in one player, and it was on the deadline day of the the mid-season transfer window. And they brought in James Tilley from Brighton Hove Albion for 425k. They brought him in as a youth player. He's only 17 years of age, so he hasn't really had any first-team experience. Only one player left the club permanently, and it was Cheku Kouyaté. He went to Fiorentina for £2.3 million there. But in competitions, Di Canio's side finishing 7th, which is very respectable. Knocked out in the first knockout round of the Europa League. I think that is against CSKA Moscow. Zenit St. Petersburg won the whole thing in the end. Knocked out in the third round of the FA Cup. Unfortunately, they got drew against Manchester United, and in the fourth round by Chelsea. So no real upsets there for West Ham. Have a quick look at their schedule though to see how well they did in Europa League, etc. So we'll start with the Europa League, and they did well. Beat College Europa 9-0 in the Europa League qualifying first round. Second round, they beat Dinamo Batumi. They beat them 6-1 on aggregate, and then beat Stromsgodset 7-0 on aggregate. Got to the playoff against Rubin Kazan, who they beat 2-1 over 2 legs. And in the Europa League group, they didn't lose any games, but they only actually won one. They beat Dnipro. They drew to Lazio twice and Fenerbahce twice, so it's not bad going, but obviously it was enough to get through their group. And then unfortunately they beat CSKA Moscow 1-0 at the Bowling Ground in the first leg, but then lost 3-0 away from home. Ahmed Musa, Roman Arminenko and Georgi Milanov scoring there to knock West Ham out of the competition. In the Capital One Cup, beat Scunthorpe 2-1 at home, and then lost 5-0 to Chelsea. Chelsea really turned up for that one. FA Cup, they lost 2-0 to Manchester United at home as well. In the league, they didn't start off great. They only won one of their first 8 games, I think that is. And really, they were just slightly too inconsistent. But they finished 7th in the end, which isn't bad going at all. Now, is that enough in Europa League if we just quickly... Yeah, they got Europa League again, which is very, very decent by West Ham as well. not bad going there. Well, tactics-wise, final game of the season kind of gives us an indication how he played, and it was actually a flat 4-4-2 that they used in the end for that particular game. So what we're going to do is check out how the players did this season. We're going to general info, we'll go to stats, and then overall this season. So the most appearances this season was Aaron Creswell. He almost played 55 games for the club. It was 52 for Obiang, 50 for Ogbonna, and 49 for Carl Jenkinson. Top goal scorer this season was Diafra Sacco. He scored 20 goals in all competitions, and followed by Dimitri Payet with 11, Enner Valencia with 10, and Andy Carroll with 10. Most assists was Mark Noble, who grabbed 13, and Payet getting 11. Most player of the match is Aaron Creswell with a solid 9. Alex Song got 5, Diafra Sacco got 4. And the best average rating this season was also Aaron Creswell, who did very well indeed at that left back position for West Ham. So they're not bad going whatsoever, getting a Europa League yet again this season. And Paolo Di Canio working quite well in charge of them there. So 11th was their media prediction. They finished quite a bit higher than that just there. And we'll skip forward another season now and see how well they can do. So we skip forward another season, and it's time to see how West Ham did. They of course had the Europa League, another Europa League distraction this season, and it'll be interesting to see how they get on now. West Ham finished 9th this season, 2 places below, unfortunately missing out on Europe this season. But they finished 7 points behind Newcastle. Kind of similar situation. Newcastle miles behind Liverpool there, but had a slight margin on Norwich City as well. So now we'll have a look at West Ham though as a whole. Of course, finishing 9th in the Premier League. Paolo Di Canio still in charge of the club. History-wise though, transfer history-wise, that's the one we wanted. Spent 14 million this season, not receiving much money. Nikita Jelavic was the only player to leave. He went to Saint Etienne in France for £475,000. But he signed £14 million worth of players. 5 players there. First one for £8.5 million. Giovanni Dos Santos from LA Galaxy. The 28-year-old Mexican. Looks like he had an okay season there. Could play all across the attacking positions, really. Valued at £22 million now, but they are paying £81,000 in wage for him. Very decent little player there. Denis Kirisev from Real Madrid. A good Russian left midfielder. Another good, strong signing for them in the Premier League. Marco Ascencio from Real Madrid on loan. He plays in central midfielder. Very good stats on him as well. Looks like he was a regular for them. Eugenio Mena from Cruzio is £1.4 million. He was a backup left back, I think, probably for Aaron Creswell there. And Jonathan from Fluminense for $525k. Very good right back for them, who looks like he was there. Probably a replacement for Carl Jenkinson, who would have left. But in other competitions, let's see how they did. Knocked out in the group stage this time of the Europa League. Napoli went on to win that. Knocked out in the 6th round of the FA Cup by Swansea. And knocked out in the 4th round of the Capital One Cup by Tottenham Hotspur. Schedule-wise, though, we'll have a quick look how they got on. And again, first thing we'll check is the Europa League. They had to go for a couple of qualifying legs. They lost to Jablonec 3-1 away from home, but luckily they came back to the Upton Park and smashed them 4-0. In the playoff, they beat Belenenses. I think that's the Portuguese side. Beat them 6-0. Actually, at the Olympic Stadium now, not Upton, my bad. But beat them quite comprehensively. Their group was quite difficult. They had Borussia Mönchengladbach, Sevilla, and Malmo. They actually did okay. Only lost 2 of the games. It'll be interesting to see where they got knocked out, to be honest. If we quick the stages, and it's Group F, was it? Yeah, they lost out by 3 points in the end. 1-2 drew 2, lost 2. Malmo lost every single game, so it was all doom and gloom for them. But West Ham were unlucky on another day. Maybe they could have qualified out of that group. Capital One Cup though beat Stoke 2-0 in the 3rd round, which was a decent result. They seem to have a lot of cup ties at home, but they lost 3-2 against West Ham United. Mikel Antonio against Spurs. Sorry, West Ham lost 3-2 to Spurs. Getting my words mixed up there. Mikel Antonio, Giovanni Dos Santos scoring, Dele Alli, Moussa Dembele, and Denis Suarez scoring for Spurs. In the FA Cup, went quite far compared to last season. Beat Wigan. They beat Spurs in this one. Beat Sunderland, but then lost 3-1 to Swansea. Shelby, Callum Wilson, Gylfi Sigurdsson scoring. Aaron Cresswell getting a late one there for them. In the Premier League, again, didn't start off great, to be honest. If you look, what a horrible run, but they had Spurs, Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool. They only actually won 2 games up until mid-November. Sure, his job could have maybe been under threat at that point, but got a bit stronger as the season went on. Didn't finish great, to be honest, winning 2 of their last 6, or 2 of their last, 9 games. And so I'll be interested to see how they can get on next season, to be honest. General, they finished, 9th? They were media predicted 9th, to be fair, as well. So we'll skip forward another season and see how well. And actually, as you can see here, owner status, they're in the process of a board takeover. So is Di Canio's job going to be under threat there? Well, we'll go and find out. So we'll skip forward another season. And it's time to see how Di Canio has done. Now, they're all the way down in 14th this season, dropping quite dramatically down there. And Paolo Di Canio is no longer in charge of West Ham United. It's now Ernesto Valverde, a Spaniard. He's now in charge of the club. Now, we'll go on to managers. Di Canio was sacked in March of 2018. So only a couple of months ago he was sacked. And not good going for him at all. Not achievements. We can't really check where. Yeah, I think. Don't think it was a takeover that got him sacked. I'm not too sure there. He's still an icon at the club, nevertheless. But he's now been sacked. Now, transfer history. He brought in £41 million worth of players this season, which is a huge amount. Only bringing in 1.98. 2 players left. It was Antonio for 1.8 million and Louis Whitehouse to Bournemouth for 185k. Players he brought in was Jonathan Schmid from Hoffenheim for, how much was it now? It's £21 million, which is a huge amount of money for West Ham United. Physically, he's a very, very strong player, though. It looks like a solid right midfielder. Then Gianluigi Donnarumma from AC Milan for 15 million, a very young goalkeeper, so it's quite a gamble. But it seems like he was the regular goalkeeper for them this season, to be honest. Jose Rodriguez from Galatasaray for 3.9 million, a young Spaniard defensive midfielder. Dominic Solanke, they brought him in as a free transfer. He only played 1 game off the bench in the Premier League. And then Matthew Debussy, they signed for £1.4 million. But overall, of course, having a different manager in the last 2 months or so, West Ham didn't start off great, as you can see here. We're kind of a mid-table team. And they dropped all the way to 18th for 1 point, which is probably where he kind of got sacked. Knocked out in the 6th round of the FA Cup by Arsenal and lost in the quarter-final of the Capital One Cup, this time to Swansea City. Have a quick look, though. Of course, they didn't qualify for the Europa League this season. They're not in that. Capital One Cup, though, where Di Canio managed all the games. Beat Cheltenham 1-0. Solanke scoring a penalty there. Beat Middlesbrough 4-1. Beat Aston Villa 3-0, then losing out to Swansea yet again in another competition. FA Cup, they beat Ipswich, Millwall and Man City along the way, and then unfortunately losing to Arsenal. And then Barclays Premier League, of course he had a great run at the club, but came down to about March. Didn't really do too well from the new year, to be honest. He won just the 1 game. Not winning many games this season at all, West Ham. So it kind of cost him his job in the end, Paolo Di Canio. Players, though, we'll have a quick look at before we end the episode. Top appearances this year, Aaron Cresswell, Ogbonna. Top goal scorer was Enner Valencia. Best assists, again, Aaron Cresswell. Most player of the match is Aaron Cresswell. Best average rating, Aaron Cresswell. Seems to be an absolutely incredible player for them. Valued at £20.5 million now. A very, very solid left back on the game. Unfortunately, poor results have cost him his job. He won 63 matches, lost 53 and drew 31 overall over a 280-day spell at the club. He's now sacked. Steve Potts was in charge for 21 days. He lost all 3 of his games. And Ernesto Valverde has currently got 3 wins, 3 losses and 1 draw. But overall, Di Canio doing an okay job at the start, and his career kind of went downhill after that. But guys, if you did enjoy this experiment, please do drop it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And you can follow me over on Twitter, which is @DaveAsAPartyFM. But until next time, I'll see you all very soon.